For this visualization project, originally I had planned to use the theme river bar chart that I had created for the previous project. However, due to the fact that each bar had multiple layers and that they all had different colors, I could not figure out a way to properly implement that for 3D printing, especially since this was my first time. So, I decided to go elsewhere. I wanted to do something that was simple, yet at the same time creative. So, this is what I chose. This represents a bar chart for box office revenue for all the Marvel Cinematic Universe or MCU films. It goes in chronological order from left to right. Iron Man, Hulk, Thor, Captain America, the Avengers, Iron Man 3, and so on. Originally, I had planned to have numbers printed out on the top of each bar. These numbers would represent the total gross that each movie made. However, the text ended up being too small for the 3D printer to print, and increasing the size would require a lot of time for me to spend at the 3D printer. Because of classes and stuff, I was unable to successfully execute said text. However, I tried to find some ways to work around it. As you can see, each bar is minimally small. There isn't a lot of space to put stuff on there. So, this is where the backside comes in. This shows the name of each movie, along with how much it made in millions or billions. As you can also see, the base of the bar chart represents a clipperboard. I thought to use this as this was related to movies. And I am impressed with the overall final product.
Should they all be count? I feel like not.
Well, it was like who's playing Phoenix for
While this project was 3D printed, I noticed that the bars were relatively small. When I displayed this on the monitor, they looked a lot bigger in comparison, and that's why I thought that I would have enough space to work with. But while I was 3D printing, I noticed their relatively small size, so I had to think of other ways to make sure I could display my data. I tried thinking of clay, stickers, anything I could think of, but the only possible way that I could implement this was to do this. The data shows that the early films released in the MCU did not gross as much money as the later films. This is mainly due to a few reasons. One is the lack of good villains in the overall MCU universe. Most of the antagonists are killed early on or don't have interesting personalities. Later films tried to fix that. Most of them were successful with that, and that's why the later films grossed a lot more in money than the earlier films. Another reason, too, is because the later films incorporated a lot of cultures and themes that most people thought it was overacted. For example, the film Black Panther introduced the first African American superhero, aside from Blade, who was released in 2004, for the first time on screen. Most audiences were generally pleased with the incorporation of a diverse cast, and as such, Black Panther grossed more money than the previous films. Other things too is the inclusion of multiple superheroes into one film. Audiences are generally pleased by seeing their favorite characters team up with one another. That being said, the Avengers films have grossed more than any of the combined solo movies. The first Avengers movie grossed over 1.5 billion, and for a while remained number 3 at the highest grossing movie of all time. Later, Avengers Age of Ultron grossed 1.4 billion, and the last two releases, Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, both grossed over 2 billion, with Avengers Endgame being the highest grossing movie of all time. Overall, I am pleased with the final product. Though it did not come out the way I intended, I still think that for my first time using the 3D printer, I did not do a relatively bad job. Granted, I wish that my vision in my head had come out the way I had hoped it to, but I live and learn. So, hopefully next time I will be able to learn from my past mistakes and produce a better product. I had chose a bar graph because I thought it was the simplest to use. I wanted to do something small that didn't use up a lot of space, yet at the same time had a lot of data to work with. The first thought that crossed my mind was the MCU movies. 23 movies has a lot of results for data to use. Not to mention, if I had done something bigger, the amount of time it would have taken 3D printing, I wouldn't have been able to produce a model.